Every rugby player at some stage in his career will be dealing with a negative environment. That could be a negative locker room, negative energy at training. You got the coaching staff who is negative, is just draining your energy. And at some stage, you're going to have to learn how to deal with it, because if you don't learn how to deal with it, it will bring you down as well. You'll lose track of your goals. You will regress as a rugby player. And at the end of the day, you will be paying the price. Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome to another video in the rugby tips for players. I just wanted to do this quick short video to talk about how to deal with a negative environment as a rugby player, because with all the messages I've been receiving in this community, a lot of you have emphasized that sometimes you're dealing with a negative coach or negative teammates. So how do we go about that? So this is what I want to talk about. First and foremost, let's just set the scene. You have a negative coach. Okay. Unfortunately, there are a lot of coaches that are ego driven, and it's either their way or the highway, and they're always right. The modern day coach is trying to be more participative and making sure that the player is involved in the decision making, players are involved with the process. But you might be confronted with a coach who's not like that. And I have helped a lot of players online that are following my mentorship courses and helping him deal with that. For example, I had a player last year who was in the club. His coach wouldn't even speak to him. He didn't know what he was doing wrong. He didn't get opportunity to play. So the thing is, if you have a negative coach, it serves no purpose sulking and saying the guy's a dickhead and all those type of things. Sorry for my language. You got to focus on what you can do and what you can control. And the most important thing is, what you need to focus on is, what is your vision? Okay, I'm coming back to it. What is your vision and what are your goals? What do you want to achieve in your team, in your club? Because you need to think about your personal journey, not from a selfish point of view, a personal journey. So you need to ask, okay, so what can I do within this environment? How can I still work towards my vision? Which is very important. So when it comes to that coach, if, for example, he is ego driven and he is negative, try to understand him. Try to figure out what makes him tick. Be attentive. Listen to what he's saying. Knowing that you actually listen, because he might ask you to carry the ball in a certain way, but you don't agree. But if you do it his way, he might actually notice you and actually give you that opportunity. You can't be focusing on the fact that he's negative with you all the time. Each coach is different. That's not the way I coach. I like to be honest with players, but like to give them constructive feedback. So that would be my advice for you. And you as a player, focus on your own journey and push yourself, whether it's in a gym, whether it's skills after training. At some stage, you cannot be ignored. It's impossible. But if you're going to allow that to impact you in such a negative way, it's going to drain you. Your performance is going to take a dip. You need to make sure that you have these consistent habits and that you still have your routines, that you're keeping yourself accountable. A second example is you got negative teammates. You've got ambitions. You want to play hard. They don't have a great work ethic, or they are lazy, or they are constantly talking poorly about the coaching staff. It happens whether it's an amateur, semi-professional or professional. How do you deal with those teammates? And that's a tricky one. Now, similar to what I said when you are dealing with a negative coach, you got to kind of like follow the same pathway when you're dealing with negative teammates. You got to focus on what you want to achieve. What is your personal journey? What is your vision? What is your goals? How can you go about it? And yes, sometimes negative players can actually impact training. So let me share a story with you. Years ago, and that's after we won the Super Rugby for the first time in 2008. It wasn't that there was a negative environment. We were losing games and players were starting to lose faith. They were starting to lose a bit of hope. And I took it upon myself. I was a very silent leader. I didn't speak a lot. I led by example. And then I started to become vocal because I realized players needed someone to inspire, but I backed it up. I started training like a beast. I was doing sessions at 6 a.m. in the morning. I was training on my own. I was really pushing the limits. And eventually I started raising the standards when it comes to fitness for props. I was probably one of the fittest rugby props at the stage in the world. But with that, I started to encourage my teammates. I started to inspire them. So my advice to you is try to understand why they're so negative and try to potentially reach them through your performances, reach them through the human being that you are, but for the values that you set. And I know sometimes in the amateur level it can be tough, and that's why it's important to try and understand why. But if you can potentially just convince one player to change his mindset, that can have a massive impact on the environment in general, but it's most importantly, you need to understand why are they so negative? Why don't they want to train? Let's say, for example, your teammates, they all had a crazy day at work and they're not in a mood to train. At some stage you could ask them, why are you guys here? Why are you playing? Is it just for the beers? We have to listen, guys. I've got goals that I want to achieve. I really want to do well. I want my family to be proud of me. I want for example, if you're a dad and you're playing and your kids on the side, you want them to see that you are actually enjoying it. So it's a tough one when it comes to those negative. Normally, it's the job of the coach to reset the environment. It's the job of the coach to make sure that everybody's in line, that everybody's aligned and buying into the collective values of the team and also the vision. But you got to find ways to deal with it. How else can you deal with it when your environment's negative? It's find something that you're passionate about, which allows you to lift your spirits. I'll take myself, for example. It wasn't so called a negative environment, but we were in an environment where we were under pressure consistently. Last year, we weren't doing well at my former club. We were losing consistently. Players were not pitching up. Things didn't go our way. And I started the podcast in that time. And if it wasn't for that podcast, Lessons from the Game with my co-host Ben Begner, who's in this community as well, I don't know how I would have gotten through it. So by doing something which was a positive distraction, allowed me to navigate that tough time, allowed me to navigate that environment where we were constantly under pressure. So just to be clear, I'm not saying it was a negative environment. We were under pressure. We needed results. We needed to find solutions. So yeah, I know it was short. Went on a bit longer. But yeah, I hope you guys find this useful. I will definitely like to get your feedbacks. Potentially, I might actually use this as a topic on a community call and dive a bit deeper into it. So let me know what your thoughts are. And as usual, if you enjoyed this video, please share this community with your friends. Invite them to come in. And if you're watching this video on YouTube, check the link in the description if you want to join the community. But most importantly, we are starting to create something unbelievable in this community. So let's stay accountable, but also let's continue to encourage each other. So if you see one of your teammates, I'm calling you teammates because we're a team, is creating his own standalone post, comment on it, like it, leave your wisdom. If you have something to share, there's something in your heart, let it out, pour it out. Okay, so guys, this was tip number 8 or 9. Not sure, I have to check the order on that, but wish you guys all of the best and hope you guys have an unbelievable day. Ciao.